Hello, guys. It is Mrs. Lloyd here with you today. We are going to go over um, a few more details about the hormones that we've already talked about. And you guys will have a homework assignment that will be actually scored as a lab assignment, although it's really just matching things. But it's a bigger assignment, 41 points you can edit. So change your answers till you get them all correct, because it's great practice for what your test is going to look like. Basically, what gland secretes what hormones is the main deal of this chapter. So we'll talk about all of these guys and the different hormones that they're secreting and how they function in the body. I'm going to move my picture over here for now. All right, so we're going to start over here with the pituitary gland. And as we've been discussing, your pituitary gland is broken up into two groups, the anterior and posterior sections. So the front, anterior, and then the back portions of it, the posterior. So I want you to note the differences right here. So the anterior pituitary, all of these hormones, it produces those hormones, and then it releases them when the hypothalamus tells it to, because the hypothalamus has its own releasing hormones. The posterior pituitary is a little bit different. It actually doesn't make them. Instead, the hypothalamus makes them, and it stores them, and then it releases it whenever it gets the little zap signal from the hypothalamus to release its hormones. So there is a little bit of a difference between it. We're going to start here with the anterior. So a lot of these I just am using the abbreviations that we've gone over already. So we have growth hormone, prolactin. So growth hormone grows, right? Bones and muscles grow. Prolactin, this is producing breast milk production. It affects the mammary glands. FH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Both of these are called gonadotropins, as in gonads, as in ovaries and testes, because these are the two that stimulate the ovaries and testes to produce hormones as well as to produce gametes. So when you're doing your homework, I think we talked a little bit more detail on those on the previous page of your packet, or not, I guess previous page, but previous notes, page 3. Then we also have TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and just as the name suggests, thyroid stimulating hormone stimulates the thyroid. Then you have ACTH, adrenal corticotropic hormone, big long word. AC, think adrenal cortex. Okay, it's stimulating the adrenal cortex to release its hormones. And this last one, don't even worry about. It's melanin stimulating hormone. It stimulates your melanocytes to make your skin darker. That's kind of a newer one. It won't be on your test though. All right, posterior pituitary. It only has two that the hypothalamus makes, but it stores it, is the ADH, antidiuretic hormone. This is the one that's involved with thirst in your body. So, and just as a side note, alcohol inhibits, as well as caffeine, inhibits this hormone in your body. So if you ever heard of the, not that you've experienced it because you're underage, but when you get to drinking age, people will talk about breaking the seal as far as urine production when consuming alcohol. So if you've drank quite a bit of alcohol, you have to urinate quite a bit more than you normally would. The reason is after a certain amount of alcohol consumption, it inhibits ADH from working. And so there's no seal, there's no thing on the urethra that gets ruptured once you go to the bathroom the first time. All it is that you've consumed enough alcohol that now your body no longer can control this hormone, and your kidneys flush out all your water. This also leads to hangovers afterwards, is because you're incredibly dehydrated because you urinated out all of your salt and all of your water the evening before. So it's because alcohol inhibits ADH. Caffeine does as well. So people who drink caffeine tend to have to urinate more after drinking, a cup or two of coffee. And so that's a cause of that. So OT is also oxytocin, abbreviated OT. And this is what is going to stimulate uterine contractions during childbirth, as well as not the production of milk, but the ejection of milk from the nipples whenever childbirth has happened and the mom's breastfeeding. Prolactin makes the milk. Oxytocin ejects the milk and also contracts the uterus. All right, moving on to the pancreas. The cells that make these hormones are called the islets of Langerhans. It's not important, you know that though. But the two main hormones are insulin and glucagon, and they both work opposite of each other. So insulin kicks in whenever I've just eaten a really sugary or carb-intense meal. So pizza, let's say, for example, lots of carbs in that. And so insulin would be released because of those carbs, and it would lower the blood glucose by encouraging my cells to absorb the glucose that's in my bloodstream. So insulin lowers the blood glucose in your body. Glucagon kicks in. In fact, let's say I skipped a meal, you skipped breakfast or something, and your blood sugars dropped a little bit. Glucagon kicks in, and it encourages your liver to release glucose into your blood sugar so that to your bloodstream so that your blood sugar will raise. So they just work opposite of each other. People who suffer from diabetes mellitus have issues with the insulin. Diabetes 1 and 2 are caused by different things. We don't need to get into that yet. All right, then the adrenal gland. This is what sits on top of your kidneys, and it's broken up into the outer and the inner portion. The outer portion is called the adrenal cortex, and ACTH is what stimulates this to release its hormones. So there's two kind of main groups of them. You have the glucocorticoids, and the main glucocorticoid is cortisol. It's just like the grouping that this hormone is in. And then there's a mineral corticoid, and the main mineral corticoid produced by the adrenal cortex is aldosterone. So cortisol and aldosterone are the hormones. These are just kind of the classification of that hormone. Just know that they go together, but you don't have to really know too much of a difference between them. There's actually a third hormone, your adrenal cortex, and aldosterone affects your kidneys, and it tells your kidneys to absorb more sodium, depending on what's going on in your bloodstream. There is a third hormone that the adrenal cortex releases. So I want you to draw an extra line here, or you could dip one down this way if you want to, if you don't have space, and that is testosterone. And males and females both make testosterone. And so this is why females can, produce facial hair and things like that, especially after menopause when estrogen and progesterone aren't very high. All right, then the adrenal medulla, the inside. These hormones are called catecholamines, just different from the corticoid groups. But epinephrine, which is your fight or flight, FOF, response, as well as norepinephrine are the two hormones released by the medulla. All right, kind of cover this up a little bit. I'll leave this in case you're writing that down. Now moving on to the pineal gland. This is in the brain. Oh, excuse me. It's in the brain kind of on the back side, so that hypothalamus and pituitary is in the front. And then the pineal gland is in the back, but it's deep inside the brain. It produces melatonin, which is your sleepfulness and wakefulness biological rhythms. So it allows you to hopefully go to sleep at night and be awake during the day. And some people take melatonin to help them sleep at night. Teenagers, their melatonin levels are very, very different than adults, and so this is why you might not be tired at 1 a.m. where your parents think it's just kind of crazy that you're not sleeping. All right, your thyroid gland. This one is associated with a lot of our metabolism. This is the one that also requires iodine in order to make these hormones, so you don't form a goiter. But the thyroid gland produces T3 and T4. T4 is thyroxine, and thyroxine is the main metabolism hormone. And it's in charge of your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. And that's just when we talk about like, oh, I have a high metabolism or I have a slow metabolism. It just means how fast your body breaks down chemicals. And this hormone is responsible for it. If somebody has sudden weight gain or sudden weight loss without any explanation, like I haven't been working out anymore, I haven't been dieting, but I just all of a sudden dropped 20 pounds, that's a good indication something is wrong with your thyroid. And so doctors will look at your thyroid levels to see if something's going on there. The other hormone is T3. The full name of it is awful to say, but it starts with tri, so that helps me remember that that one's the T3 one. And then calcitonin is another one that's not related to metabolism, but secreted by the thyroid gland. Like calcitonin lowers my calcium levels in my bloodstream. So if I have a high level of calcium, my thyroid gland will release calcitonin, and my bones actually absorb that excess calcium and get stored up in my bones. The thyroid gland is under, there's 4 of them, so if I could take my thyroid off and flip it around, you would see 4 little dots on the back of it, and that's the parathyroid glands. And they release parathyroid hormone, PTH. And this job is to increase calcium. So if I have low calcium in my bloodstream, it stimulates my bones to actually break down those osteoclasts, break down the bones to increase my calcium levels in my bloodstream. My thymus, it sits right above my heart. It's right here. It's more active in adolescence, so individuals of your age, and it releases thymosins. And these are important for maturing your immunity. And so teenagers tend to have, and young people tend to have a more robust immunity, and this is a time when your body is learning about all of the invaders in the world around you, and this is when you're getting vaccines and things like that. You're building immunity. And so your thymus is super active during your adolescence, and it helps mature your T cells, which help fight off infections in your blood. And then we get to the gonads, those things that the gonadotropins, FSH and LH, affect, okay, our testes and ovaries. The testes release androgens, which is just a generic term for the male sex hormones. There's more than just testosterone, but testosterone is the main one we talk about. In the ovaries, we have estrogen and progesterone, and these deal with our sex characteristics and controlling the menstrual cycle, as well as encouraging fertilization during pregnancy, if an egg is fertilized, and what keeps essentially that egg embedded in the uterus. And so birth controls affect these hormone levels to, if you're trying to not get pregnant, hormones will affect these levels to ensure that, let's say, egg implantation or egg release doesn't occur. All right. Few small side notes. One thing is, as we talked about before, most of these, I'm just going to take my face away so you can see everything. Most of these hormones all deal with amino acids. Remember we talked about at the very beginning the difference between amino acid and, I wonder if I can hide that, I guess not. Okay. The main difference between amino acids and steroid-based hormones. Assume all of these are amino acid hormones except for these few I'm going to highlight here. So this little yellow box around anything is going to represent the steroids. So you can see boxes around our glucocorticoids, testosterone, mineralocorticoids. Everything from the adrenal cortex is considered a steroid hormone, meaning it goes directly into the nucleus of the cell to increase gene production. And then the next group, right, are all of our sex hormones. So the androgens, estrogens, and progesterone. Notice that a lot of these end in O-N-E. O-N-E, cortisone is another word for cortisol. Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. That ending, O-N-E or E-N or G-E-N, is a common ending for steroids. That helps you remember those. So these are the unique steroid groupings. Another little term I want to throw out to you is hyper and hypo. So if I have hypersecretion of melatonin, that means I'm making too much melatonin in my body. And so I might have issues with my sleepfulness or wakefulness. Let's say I have hypothyroxinism, too little thyroxine. That means my metabolism is going to really slow down, right? Because it's going to be affecting this. So hyper and hypo are just referred to too much secretion or too little secretion of certain hormones. So there's lots of diseases relating to the endocrine system, and many of them have to do if there's too much or too little of certain hormones. And then the other thing I want you to add to this is this definition of a tropic hormone. I mentioned this before, but if you're a tropic hormone, it means you target other endocrine glands. So ACTH, adrenal corticotropic hormone, stimulates the adrenal cortex to release its hormones. So this is considered a tropic hormone because of that. The hypothalamus, which isn't on here, it is a tropic hormone because remember, it stimulates the anterior and posterior pituitary. Now, as I was mentioning at the very beginning, anterior pituitary makes and releases all of these guys, and it just gets stimulated by the hypothalamus when it's ready to release them. But the posterior is different. It does not make ADH or OT. Instead, the hypothalamus makes these two hormones, ADH and OT, and then the posterior pituitary stores them and releases them whenever the hypothalamus tells them to. And so that's what this picture was from your homework assignment. Here's the hypothalamus, anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary, and these guys, these cells that basically zap the posterior pituitary, and then it's going to release either ADH to affect my kidneys to absorb more water, or my oxytocin that's going to either stimulate the breasts to eject milk, or during childbirth to start the contraction cycle. So just the difference there between the anterior and posterior pituitary. That is it. Your homework assignment is long, but I think very straightforward if you use these notes. We are winding down. Okay? You're very, very close to being done. Please check out the calendar I posted in Planbook and on Google Classroom for the end of the year. Your test over this material on the endocrine system will be Tuesday of next week, and then we'll spend the rest of the time reviewing for your final, and then take your final on Tuesday the 26th. If you are a senior, your final will be available for you to take early starting on Monday, just for my seniors though, because you guys are about to graduate and need to finish up early. All right, message me if you have any questions. I hope you guys are well, and I'll see you online soon.